I'm Dr. David Moffet. I'm a dentist from Sydney, Australia. I'm also the author of the Big Yellow Book, just released last month. They say the number one reason that our dental patients leave us and go elsewhere for treatment is apathy and perceived apathy from the doctor and from the team towards those valued patients. Another reason patients leave in the middle of treatment and don't continue their treatment is they're confused. We don't give those patients a clear next step at every point of their visit to our dental office. I've been a dentist for 32 years, and for 28 of those years, I owned and worked in my own private practice in Western Sydney. Now, you've all seen Sydney, Sydney Harbour Bridge, Sydney Opera House. That's not Western Sydney. In Western Sydney, it's working class. It's fibro homes. My patients were average patients with average incomes, drove average cars and lived in average homes. But I built a very successful practice. In 2007, I had a knock on my door. A corporate aggregation came to me and offered to buy my practice. Now, I'd played golf with some doctors who'd sold to corporates. And I'd always believed that it would come to dentistry, but it hadn't come to dentistry in Australia. The offer to me was $2.15 million in cash and $600,000 in paper in a company that nobody thought would see the light of day. 5 years on from 2007, the company got on-sold to a British medical insurer, and that $600,000 worth of worthless paper was worth another $2 million. My practice was worth over $4 million when I sold it. But it wasn't always this way. In 1996, I tried to sell that same practice. I was a little disillusioned with dentistry and had it on the market for $160,000 and could not sell it. 3 dentists looked at my practice, saw all that I had to offer, and decided that it was such a good opportunity and my information was so good that they would buy another practice or set up in my town. 3 dentists did that to me. In desperation, I approached another dentist friend of mine who was working in a town half an hour drive from mine. He had a very successful practice, and he offered me to come in and help consult in my practice, to help me build my practice and turn it back around. I took on his offer. 6 months into that offer, I found that while he was working with me, he was also working as a dentist 900 yards down the road from me and taking the information that I was giving him and using it with my direct competitor. In 1997, I came home to my wife with a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. Sorry, she had the 1-year-old and the 4-year-old. They were at home. I didn't bring them home. But I came home to my wife with a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I told her that we needed to sell our family home, that we needed to go rent for a while, because we needed the cash from our family home to put it back into the business. It's not a very nice thing to have to do. 1996, tried to sell the practice. 2007, sold it for $4 million. How did I do it? The answers are in the book. But simply, we looked at a couple of things. Firstly, I turned the dental paradigm on its ear. And I looked at my practice from the patient's point of view, from every point of view that the patient experienced. I built my practice to be what is now known as an ultimate patient experience. We cover every base, and I teach dentists what I did to turn that practice around. Simply, we've heard it all today already, but dentists are burning free money by not having their phone answered correctly, by not converting all the new patient calls, and little numbers lead to big numbers. I teach dentists that by increasing their new patient numbers by 2 per month, and if a new patient is worth $2,000 over a 2-year period, then over 2 years you can add 48 new patients to your practice. That's $96,000. By stopping one patient from cancelling their treatment, that one patient who's a regular patient keeps coming back. On average, they spend $615 a year in my practice. One patient per week, 104 weeks over a 2-year period, you've kept another $63,000 in your practice. Gentle fee increases Dentists are lousy at keeping their fees at least with inflation. I put my fees up over an 8-year period over 100% in a working class part of Sydney. When I sold my practice, specialist orthodontist Derek Mahoney was charging less for his orthodontics than me. But I'm not a better orthodontist than Derek Mahoney. I was charging more for my crowns than the local specialists. But that was because my patients loved me and they believed in me and they had the service. They were getting an experience. Patients leave your practice when they have a misunderstanding or confusion as to what they need to have done next. We drum in to our dentists who come to our workshops that they need to really go away and make sure that everything is a clear next step for the patient. And that means seamless, perfect handovers from the moment the patient's in the treatment room to the moment the patient is leaving the office. We've all seen it. As doctors, we go in, we do a hygiene examination, we present the treatment, we get up and walk out, and our hygienist is standing there with some floss and a toothbrush and undermining our message of what the treatment needs to be. We take the patient out to the front, and our front desk socially starts talking about the weather, the time, Christmas, and the treatment that is in the patient's head out the door. Focusing on that clear next step, but maintaining that customer service really does build your business. It built my business. It turned it around from a business that was floundering in 1996 to a very successful business in 2007. Thanks very much.